headquarters and your distribution channel, you're probably not using Gowalla and Foursquare, although they might be by now. But anyway, so.
I mean, you know what is interesting? I mean, if you could have Tony Hsieh talk about this too. I mean, he's got probably over 1 million followers on Twitter, right? If you follow at Zappos CEO. And he talks about a lot of the stuff that he talked about today. There's things that personally interest him, the pursuit of happiness and how you think about life. And, because a lot of what's tied up in Zappos is his personal brand, right? So there's a cult of personality built around that company because, he's essentially their Richard Branson, right? So that's not selling shoes. That's not tied back to specials or anything. I mean, that's just, something else. That's yet another marketing vehicle, and it's a vehicle for his personal brand. I think, obviously, he's passionate about it. He just likes to do it.
All right, now I'm going to bring it over to the dark side of social media. How do you keep your employees in line? The common problem with your staff sitting there in a meeting, just under the table, tweeting, "Oh, I can't believe I'm in another boring meeting," and that gets circulated out to 30 million people. So a lot of companies have set up policies prohibiting not only at the workplace, but trying to keep control over the quality and quantity of tweets going out 24/7. What are you guys doing, and or do you think it's just a totally hopeless situation? Oh, and do it in 140 characters or less. But
well, I can talk about it from a standpoint of what we see in some of the corporate environments that we're going into. So there's really two ends of the spectrum, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. EMC, which is not a freewheeling woohoo kind of company. EMC makes a lot of money, and they sell storage, and they've been around for a long, long time. Their policy is that everybody has access to social media. They don't firewall YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. They do a lot of training about it, like Tony was talking about. They get people, their point is that when you sign an employment agreement with us, just like you wouldn't go to a restaurant and start screaming, EMC sucks, you're an ambassador for our brand, wherever you are. So that applies in the social space as well. So that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is nobody can do anything ever, and if you ever do, you're dead, and you're going to leave, and we're going to get you. And so what people do is now they don't take smoke breaks, they take social media breaks and go down on their mobile phone and do it all anyway. So it's kind of a weird place. But companies are trying to figure this out, right? And so again, some of the companies are being very open about their journey in developing their social media ethics, number one, and number two, their policies. And so EMC, as an example, has a white paper, a big white paper that they call their journey in social media, and they talk about why they've adopted the way that they've adopted it. So again, these are some of the things that are out there happening in business. The other thing that's being looked at is from an HR standpoint, as we bring in a new demographic into the workforce, the demographic Tony's talking about this morning, this is their lifestyle. So to prohibit people and say you can't is not necessarily smart, but you've also got to think it through as a company. So that's what I see.
I mean, going back to, the employee first, we're pretty open, as a company, because as long as we're taking care of our employees, I don't think I really need to worry about what they're doing because they're going to talk about it. The web just allows them to do it quicker. The other thing, too, is luckily at the restaurant level, right, the employees are busy working. They don't really have time to sit there and do their text, tweet, whatever they got to do. But in the corporate office, and most of us here work in an office, you're going to be making your weekend plans. You're going to be doing that anyway. And the way I think about it is, if you were doing it on the phone and you had to call 5 friends, make the reservations, do this, you probably spend maybe an hour a day planning your birthday weekend getaway anyway. You can do it like in a fraction of the time on the web anyway. So production-wise, you're going to do it anyway, right? Whether you're taking a coffee break, whatever it is, we're going to be pretty lax about it as long as the job gets done. So we're not out there policing anybody. But my brother does, come over and hover our work done first. You know, because we do have deadlines to meet. But the deal is, we got to do this in real time. So I constantly have to balance. We got deadlines for our work and this and that, but just make sure the menu boards are done, and then just go to the social media. But we have certain deadlines.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it actually gets back to what Tony says about just good hiring, right? I mean, most of the stuff is common sense, right? And I mean, we don't have official policies and procedures. I mean, if you have, you know, thousands and thousands of employees, you might want to do that. But I mean, we certainly do monitor and listen. So if we see something, you know, that has Fandango in it come across in a tweet or something, you know, we'll take a look at it. All we ask that our employees, if they say something about Fandango or something they're doing at work, is just make sure it doesn't look like you're representing the company. You know, that it's just, hey, you happen to be a Fandango today, and here's what happened. That's fine. You know, I mean, we're luckily, you know, our company's not that big, and you know, we have people that are fairly savvy about it. But I mean, sometimes things do happen. I mean, I can tell you a story about how about a year ago we were actually working on kind of a highly secretive project for Palm. We were putting our app on the Palm Pre, and so you know, some of our developers, and actually this guy was a freelancer. He actually had access to. He was working on the app, and no one had seen the OS yet, except people that were developing. And for some reason, he took a picture of the phone and tweeted about it. And Palm saw it within like 2 hours, and we said, "Who is this guy? What is he doing?" We had to fire that guy by the end of the day. So, you know, yeah. Sometimes you need temporary people, and they're not exactly 100% part of your culture, and they don't know that. And that stuff can happen.
Just another deal is, I won't name the company, but if you work for a technology company, trust me, my buddy who owns one of those companies, they watch everything you do.
It's true.
And he has fired people for doing things that they weren't supposed to be doing during business hours, i.e., I'm going to say here, don't do porn during work hours. It's a dead giveaway.
There's sort of a famous story of somebody who Cisco talks about this in their kind of folklore around social media, because Cisco is really, really advanced in social media. AT&T is really advanced. You can go to AT&T's website and click on their social media tab and see everything that they're doing for all their brands, all their wireless, etc. But anyway, somebody interviewed. And on the way back from the interview, they tweeted, "This sure is a long commute. I'm not sure this is going to work out." And Cisco monitors everything that they just monitor everything. They have a really good listening engine, and they contacted the potential employee and said, just so you know, you're not getting the job. I mean, you don't start the work life with us by complaining about your commute day one. So,
Really is being built.
I helped build one of those for SAP. So
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Upcoming tools. There are 9 million ways that you can run your social media campaigns, but now that it's starting to develop, there are some really nifty tools coming out. Which ones are you currently using and swear by, and which ones would you say avoid like the plague?
I give a free plug to a couple companies we're looking at, and we haven't signed with any of them, but I mean, we definitely are looking at a bunch of different tools. And the stuff that we've seen out there currently has not been great. I mean, the person on my team, she does use TweetDeck, and we'll use a couple other things, but she's kind of cobbling it together, and nothing is kind of 100% the solution. One company we're looking at is called Sprinkler, Sprinkler, so like Flickr, but Sprinkler. They seem to have a pretty good product. A company called CitizenNet. We're looking at, those are probably the two that we're looking at using more ongoing, and that's for Facebook and Twitter. Something as simple as also just like Google Alerts. I mean, you can have a very basic thing in tracking. Actually, Facebook, if you have a fan page, actually give you some okay tools, kind of like their version of Google Analytics to kind of track what's going on your site and reach. And there's folks out there, like Radiant6, you can certainly look at. That's another company that's doing stuff.
The fun part for us is because we have the retail sites. Foursquare is the next thing that we're kind of trying to implement because they have the mayors and all those things. But the interesting part is, if you don't know about